Kenley Jansen was visibly not present for the last series of the season for the Boston Red Sox. Is this a tough look for him and Alex Cora?
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby Hurlbut, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I am here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox, Monday through Friday, straight to your favorite podcast feed. And the best part is it's all completely free. So you might as well tune in because Locked On is your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.com, Booking.yeah. The right stay can make you a fan of any city, even your baseball rivals. Book today on Booking.com, the official accommodation partner of Major League Baseball. Get the Booking.com app today. Welcome to the show. Another day in the grind of postseason baseball and another day of wishing the Red Sox were in the postseason and having to sit and watch all these other fan bases get to enjoy seeing their team in it, but not us Red Sox fans. And Sam Kennedy, Craig Breslow, and Alex Cora did try to reassure us in a press conference the other day that things would be different this offseason and that they would really do what needs to be done to get this team back to the playoffs. But the problem is nobody believes them. Nobody is going to believe them unless they actually go out and do it, and actions speak a lot louder than words in this situation. And this has to be the offseason where they make big moves. Go out and get that ace that they've been coveting for a few years. Go out and get a couple key bullpen arms that can eat innings later on in games, like a closer and a couple other arms for earlier in the game when a reliever has to come in and be used. Go and get that right-handed power bat if it's not going to be Tyler O'Neill, and just be aggressive with the team needs heading into the offseason. And one of those needs obviously is a closer, because the idea of Kenley Jansen staying seems to be non-existent. And a little bit later on the show, I am going to be talking a little bit about the free agents that the Red Sox have going into next year, which ones they should keep, which ones they should get rid of, and all of that. And I'm going to be talking a little bit about a player who had alluded to maybe retiring after this year, but it appears like he might change his mind on that. So I'm going to be going over all of that. But Kenley Jansen was apparently not at the Red Sox final series of the season against the Tampa Bay Rays. And it was pretty obvious. It didn't come out until after the fact that he physically wasn't there, but he definitely was nowhere to be found during that series. And I said to myself, maybe they just aren't showing him, but he was physically not there. And Alex Cora said after the series ended that they sent him home and that it was a coach's decision for him not to go to the series. And he had been placed on the injured list anyway earlier, so he wasn't going to be playing the rest of the season as it is. But because he had been on the injured list, I still assumed that he would physically be at the games to support his teammates and all of that. But Alex Cora said it was a coach's decision to send him home before the series. And a lot of the team wasn't happy about it. Multiple players that all spoke on the condition of anonymity, so nobody knows who said what. But a lot of them said they had registered their disappointment over Jansen's early departure. And one player, I guess, said, "I can't say I'm too surprised by it." So there definitely was a feeling in the clubhouse of, this is so disappointing that even though he's injured and isn't pitching anymore this season, that he can't still physically be here with us. And I get why that would send that type of negative message, because You are supposed to be there for your teammates, and it's important. And even if you're checked out to the rest of the season, your teammates are still there putting in the effort to finish the season on a high note. And if you're not there to support that, that's a really tough look. And honestly, it validates the decision even more to not have Jansen come back next year. Because yes, things didn't go as planned with the Red Sox over the last couple seasons when he was here. He came here thinking he had a good shot to win here. But the Red Sox front office didn't feel that way. And obviously their attitude towards the offseason and even the trade deadline didn't necessarily reflect that. So it comes down to it at the end of the day that, yes, he might be upset by things that went on over the last couple seasons, but that doesn't mean that you just check out completely during the last series of the season, because that doesn't reflect that you're a great teammate. And it came out that once the Red Sox were eliminated, he and Alex Cora came to this agreement that he could go home. And Alex Cora tried to put it all on him by saying it's a coach's decision, but it feels more like it was a mutual thing, that Kenley was kind of over it and over the Boston Red Sox and over the fact that they once again got eliminated from the playoffs. And Alex Cora also said he could be sent home because there wasn't really a point in having him there because of the fact that he was checked out. So I think it was more mutual than we think. And ultimately, yes, we know that Jansen likely isn't coming back, and that further solidifies it. But even so, you should show that you're a good teammate and you still care about your teammates and their success, because this is going to reflect badly on Kenley when it comes to another team signing him for next year. Do we really want this guy on our team? Because when things go south, is he just not going to be present and be non-existent for a series? He said that me and Cora had a conversation, and I think we both agreed. Of course, I had been dealing with my shoulder with the inflammations and all that. That's what it was. It was nothing big. We came to an agreement that I think it's best to put me on the IL to let that shoulder recover. That's pretty much it. When we got eliminated, we agreed I could go home. No biggie, all love. That's what it was. When we got eliminated, I decided to go home. Starting my process here, working out already, also do exercises to make the shoulder a little bit stronger and all that. Right now, I'm not going to be here and home and just sit. I'm going to work out and get better and be motivated for 2025. So he basically played it off as, because we were eliminated, there was no point in keeping me around because I wanted to start my recovery process. So there was no point in me coming to that final series and sitting on the bench the whole time because I couldn't pitch anyway because I was on the IL. So we felt like it was in my best interest to go home and start my rehab so that I'm ready for 2025, which does sound like something Alex Cora would do. He's always been very adamant on connecting with the players and catering to their needs a lot. And if Kenley needed to start his recovery process, it seemed like Cora was more than willing to do that. When Alex Cora was asked about it, he reiterated what he had said after the series, which was, I had a conversation with Kenley as soon as we were done. I told him he was free to go home. It was a manager's decision. So again, he didn't get to the point where he elaborated on it more because he didn't feel like there was anything else to say. But to me, it's just a tough look not being there for your teammates and not being there to support them through the last series, because obviously when the team's eliminated from the playoffs, do you think a lot of guys are motivated to be out there still playing? Maybe some of them, the ones that are trying to lock down a contract for the following season, they want to end on a high note so that they leave a good taste in the Red Sox and other teams' mouths. But a lot of guys are mentally checked out by the last series of the season if they're not playing for a playoff spot at that point. So yes, Kenley was mentally checked out because of the fact that he was on the injured list, but why not at least try to still be there supporting your teammates? To me, that's just a tough look. And I feel like maybe Alex Cora did have the ultimate say in it by saying, yes, you can go home. And he decided, it might be best for Kenley and his ability to play next year if he goes home and isn't here with us. But it's just as much Jansen's fault because he could have said, no, I'm going to stay and I'm going to support my teammates. And it really kind of is a little bit of a selfish act in my book. Yes, I do understand it's important to have the recovery process, but it was 3 more games and he has the whole offseason to recover. I'm just really big on team camaraderie, and the fact that it rubbed his teammates the wrong way shows that it probably wasn't the best decision. So in terms of Kenley coming back to the Red Sox, the answer is likely no. And I think this further solidifies that it wouldn't be best for the Red Sox to bring him back. But we'll see how the offseason shapes out for Boston and what will they do with Rob Refsnyder, who hinted that maybe he'll come back next year. So that's being discussed next. This episode of Locked On Red Sox is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah. The right stay can make you a fan of any city, even your baseball rivals. Book today on Booking.com, the official accommodation partner of Major League Baseball. Get the Booking.com app today. Explore those U.S. cities you always secretly wanted to learn more about, like other baseball cities. With hotels, bed and breakfasts, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more on Booking.com, you might just find your perfect stay, even in your baseball rival's city during the postseason. Maybe it's time to taste test your baseball competition's stadium cuisine. Luckily on Booking.com, you can find the stadium stay that's just right for you. With Booking.com's wide variety of choices across the U.S., you can go incognito to all your baseball rivals' cities. Booking.com delivers exactly the right U.S. stay for you. Booking.com can help you book a stay that's close to your home team's or rival's stadium. One stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, especially the right one. Even your baseball rival's city. Booking.com. Booking.yeah. I've used Booking.com so many times, including last summer when I went to PNC Park in Pittsburgh and we ended up staying at a hotel that was super close to the ballpark, like right across the street. You could literally see the ballpark from the hotel. And it was a great experience. So Booking.com really does what it can to give you the best hotel Airbnb experience, you name it, wherever you want to stay that's comfortable for you. It helps you to save money and find the best solutions. So I highly recommend you checking it out today. The Boston Red Sox are in for what should hopefully be a huge and important offseason for them. And now that they likely have a plethora of outfielders that they can choose from for next year, what is going to happen with all of them? Who's going to be traded, if anybody? Are they going to have them all stay and try to fight for playing time? Or what is going to go into that decision? And one decision that could make that a little bit tougher is Rob Refsnyder and him seemingly deciding that he may not retire after this year. Because earlier on in the season, he alluded to that there's a chance he retires after this year. But now he's appearing to reconsider it because the Red Sox do have an option that they can exercise on him. The team did extend him in June 2023, which fans weren't thrilled about at the time, but nobody would have known then that he would become such a key piece for the Red Sox in 2024. Like the rest of his team, or at least a lot of players on the team, with the exception of maybe Yoshida, he did experience a serious offensive slump after the trade deadline, and the Red Sox offense just could not get things going. So if you look at Refsnyder's first half, which was super big compared to the second half, it definitely was a letdown. But again, that was the story with a lot of the players on this team. His season in 2024 was piled on with career highs. He slashed a stat line of a 283 batting average, 359 on base percentage, and 471 slugging with an OPS of 830, 16 doubles, 11 home runs and 40 RBIs over 93 games. Before his tenure with the Red Sox, he had never played more than 58 games in a season for any of the other 5 teams he was on. Despite his breakout season and seemingly reinvigorated career, he did tell the Boston Globe he was considering retirement before 2025. But he seems to have changed his mind, as he did say that he would continue to play if the Red Sox exercise his option for next season. He said, "I'll be 34 in spring training. I could see myself playing for a couple more years, honestly, if the situation is right, especially if I'm here." You saw the core this year. It's a pretty good core. I'm sure Craig Breslow is motivated and the front office is motivated. We as the players need to play better. I mean, I respect that he was defending the front office. I definitely would not have at that point. And yes, I respect that he said the players need to play better and placing responsibility on them, which of course is 100% true. At the end of the day, the players on the field need to do their job and play. But it's okay to admit that the Red Sox weren't surrounded by the best possible talent they could have been surrounded with. And I wonder if he decided to reconsider retirement because he genuinely feels like they're close to being where they need to be, because he saw something special in a lot of the young players they have on the team right now and their potential. So he genuinely feels like they could be a playoff team next year with the right moves. And maybe he has the faith that they'll make those right moves. And that's why he's reconsidering it. And also because of his abilities that he showed in 2024, especially against right-handed hitting, because hitting against lefties was always his thing. But the fact that he added on strong performances against right-handed pitching this year, maybe he decided, okay, I can still do this. The Red Sox front office has until 5 days after the World Series to notify Refsnyder if the team plans to exercise his option. And it sounds from the looks of it like he'll be back if the Red Sox hope to keep him around for 2025. If the Red Sox use his option, the outfield could be just as packed next season as it was this year. He shared playing time with Wilyer Abreu and Tyler O'Neill, and Yoshida could have been in the mix if the Red Sox were willing to put him in the outfield, which obviously they weren't. Cedar Rafaela will probably need a permanent home in the outfield if Trevor Story can stay healthy in 2025. And Roman Anthony may be big league ready by spring training. It's possible. So it may be hard to find a regular spot for Refsnyder with that much competition for an outfield spot. If the Red Sox don't re-sign O'Neill, though, more room in the outfield would open up quickly, and Refsnyder would be left as their only righty bat out there. He took on a leadership role for the team this year, and he could continue to bring experience to Boston's young and relatively inexperienced clubhouse, which could be a plus for the team. And based on his 2024 stats, he obviously has a few great seasons left in the tank. And I'm sure he'd love to retire on a high note after the best season of his 9-year career that he just had this year. But if year 9 is the best, then there has to be more that he can do. And that was probably his mindset going into this decision to possibly change his mind. So he seems pretty serious about wanting to come back. And now the question is going to be, are the Red Sox willing and interested in bringing him back? Do they feel like he is needed? Because he did bring versatility to the lineup by being a righty bat. And he was able to hit to all parts of the field and was able to make a ton of impact. And he has the veteran experience that he can provide and just seems like a genuinely good mentor to some of these younger players. So by not re-signing him, the Red Sox are losing that and that veteran leadership that he brought to the table. But the thing it comes down to me is going to be whether they do decide to bring back O'Neill or not. Because the thing is, if they do bring back O'Neill, then they might not necessarily need Refsnyder because O'Neill is also a right-handed bat that plays in the outfield. And with Roman Anthony potentially coming back, then they don't really need a spot for Refsnyder because Roman Anthony is killing it in AAA. And depending on how things go for him this offseason, they might feel like they want to take a chance on him in the majors for next year. So if that's the case, then you're looking at a starting outfield that likely consists of him in it. So then doesn't make sense for Refsnyder to be in the mix. At that point, definitely probably not. But if the Red Sox decide to not bring back Tyler O'Neill and let him walk and go elsewhere, then it might make sense to utilize Refsnyder more as a backup outfielder in case somebody gets injured or they want to give somebody a rest day, or maybe it's a lefty that they're facing. And that was the good thing about having Refsnyder in the lineup, is he was always in the lineup whenever the opposing team had a lefty on the mound, because he was able to be really effective against left-handed pitching, whereas some of the other Red Sox outfielders were not able to be as effective against lefties. So the Red Sox were always able to put him in the lineup when there was a lefty on the mound. So having him around to be able to be used as a backup outfielder, he could still be in the lineup a lot of those times when it's a lefty on the mound, but they could also allow guys like Jarren Duran, Wilyer Abreu, Cedar Rafaela, if those guys are all still here, assuming, it allows them to get more reps against left-handed pitchers so that they could hopefully start to improve their game against them, so that it gives the Red Sox more threat opportunities down the road when Refsnyder does officially retire. So it sounds like even though the season overall was frustrating and the Red Sox, quite literally based on their season finish with their record, were an average team, it seems like he still has optimism for how things could go in 2025. Because I feel like if this was a complete train wreck this year, they're nowhere close to being where they want to be, they don't have a young core that's starting to develop, then he probably would be like, I'm out. I'm not dealing with this anymore. But it seems like he sees something in this current crop of players that the Red Sox have, to the point where he's willing to stick it out and come back for another year or two to help mentor some of these younger players and hopefully get this team back to the playoffs next year. I really like Refsnyder. I like having him around. I did a whole episode last offseason about his importance to this Red Sox team and what he provides. And I emphasized the veteran leadership part of it. I just emphasized how many different teams he's been around, how many different clubhouse environments he's been around, and he knows what it's like to go through hardships in your career. And that's something that's great for the younger players to learn about and understand, is that not everything about your career is a high. There's going to be lows, and what better person than to explain that to these guys than somebody who has great clubhouse leadership skills. So I like Refsnyder. I'd like to see him come back, but ultimately at the end of the day, it might not make sense, especially if they do try to bring O'Neill back, because they have all these talented young outfielders. So it's going to be dependent a lot on that Tyler O'Neill decision. And it'll be interesting to see what the Red Sox decide to do there. But coming up, speaking of Tyler O'Neill and Kenley Jansen, I'm going to be going over all of the Red Sox free agents heading into 2025. Who should stay? Who should go? You're about to find out. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. That sounds like a great deal. While you're watching NFL games, you can track all of these different things that go on in the game, certain players, and continue to make live bets throughout that football game. So make sure you check out that incredible deal now. And also just check out FanDuel in general, because you can win tons of money by betting on different sports. Trust me, I've seen it firsthand. It will not disappoint you. You know what else won't disappoint you is Prize Picks, which is America's #1 daily fantasy sports platform. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. PrizePicks is the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy, so your lineups stay in place even if one of your players gets injured. If your player leaves in the first half and doesn't return, PrizePicks keeps your lineup live. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, PrizePicks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineups. PrizePicks is the best way to win real money this football season. Which players are going off? Which ones aren't? Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on PrizePicks. All you have to do is download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup when you use code LOCKEDONMLB on PrizePicks. PrizePicks, run your game. So many opportunities to win money through this fantastic platform that is PrizePicks. So make sure you check that out today. In talking about the Boston Red Sox offseason and moves that need to be made in order to put the Red Sox in contention again for 2025, they do have 8 free agents going into this offseason. And some of them might be worth keeping. Some of them might be worth going. We already talked about Kenley Jansen, and he truly seems to have had his eyes on a Red Sox exit for a while because of the fact that everything that he was hoping for in Boston didn't happen in terms of the team and them being competitive. But it is important to note how important and effective he was over his 2 years in Boston. He did make an all-star team and saved 56 games with a 3.44 ERA. So he definitely won't be easily replaced at the back of that bullpen. And that's the big thing with Kenley leaving, is they do need to find a closer that could work in the long term, because we always knew that Jansen was an interim closer, somebody who could help them get by in that role, but we knew that he didn't have many years left in his career when he came to Boston, so we knew it was going to be a temporary thing. So now it's on the Red Sox to find a more permanent closer, somebody who can be there in the long run to contribute to this team and be effective in that spot. But Alex Cora did take the fall for him flying home a couple of days early and not being there for the last series of the season. But it's pretty clear that both sides are ready for a break. And if it wasn't already a sign that he should be gone after this season, that definitely was the icing on the cake to me. So Kenley Jansen, bye-bye. Doesn't make any sense to re-sign him anyway when the Red Sox are trying to build a competitive team for the future that's going to be around for a long time. Another one that possibly could be a keeper is Chris Martin. Definitely a borderline choice to keep around, but he's nearing the end of the line at age 38, however, remains effective. That's the only thing. Like, yes, he's getting up there in age, so he doesn't have much more left in the tank, but he's been good overall for this Boston Red Sox team, especially with a bullpen that needs a ton of work this offseason. With Justin Slayton being a definite keeper, probably Luis Guerrero and maybe Zach Penrod, who was sent back down to AAA when Quinn Preister made his debut on Sunday against the Tampa Bay Rays. Other than those guys, there aren't any other bullpen arms that stand out to me right now as, yes, they definitely should be kept around. And then you can incorporate adding Liam Hendriks and Garrett Whitlock back into the mix. But Chris Martin was one of the few sure things that the Red Sox have in this lineup. He's a veteran leader on a young roster, and it's really no coincidence that the season went south after he got hurt in July. And he started off slow this season because he was hurt, but then when he got back from his injury, he was pitching really effectively again, and last year was one of the best relievers in baseball. So overall, in his couple seasons with the Red Sox, we can look back on it and say he was pretty effective. The Red Sox will have competition for his services since he's a proven eighth inning arm, but he'd fill needs on the field and in the clubhouse for the Red Sox. So it's definitely a decision where I could see the Red Sox letting him go because he's getting up there in age and they want to establish an eighth inning guy who's younger and will be there in the future. So I wouldn't be crazy upset if they let him go, but I also think if they're going to keep any free agents around, he would be one that's worth keeping because of his effectiveness and maybe just have for another year while they focus on finding somebody who could be his true replacement. So I say yes to Chris Martin for another season, but one more year max. Tyler O'Neill is another one that I think they should consider keeping. Again, borderline, he would probably be a one and done at this point after 2025. He hit 31 home runs, which was only 3 off of his career high, but he also missed 49 games in what still amounted to the second most durable season of his career, which is a bit of an issue. I mean, I did express concerns about his health early on when they first traded for him. So he has to be able to stay healthy if he's going to stick around. He did strike out a lot was the other thing, but he provided power in the Red Sox lineup that they didn't otherwise have, and he provided some versatility by being a right-handed bat. He does turn 30 in June and probably isn't going to get healthier, so normally we'd wish him well, but Craig Breslow has already been in touch with him about sticking around because he's practically, again, the only right-handed power in the organization. So even if they do bring him back, I still would like to see them acquire another right-handed bat, but he's another one that I would lean towards keeping just because of what he provided to the team. However, if they can upgrade and find a better right-handed power bat that doesn't have as high of a strikeout rate than he does, then I'd much prefer to see them part ways with him and bring in somebody else. But if they're not able to find that right match and find an upgrade that's a right-handed bat over Tyler O'Neill, then I'd say yes, keep him around because he did some great things in a Red Sox uniform. Then you have Nick Pivetta, who is very iffy. I'm saying let him walk. He's what he is at this point, a 31-year-old who's really high strikeout numbers are tempered by his tendency to serve up home runs. Like he gives up the long ball a crazy amount, but he does generate lots of swings and misses. He has improved his command tremendously since he arrived in Boston in 2020, cutting his walk rate nearly in half. But all those sweepers that he throws around the plate, you know exactly what I'm talking about, increased the likelihood of hangers, and he allowed nearly as many homers this year with 28 as he did walks with 36. Still, there is going to be a team that's going to look at the strikeouts. He averaged 10.6 of them per 9 innings and believe that they can fix him into keeping balls in the ballpark. Maybe that team will be the Red Sox, but I don't think they should. I think they should just be seeking more significant rotation upgrades this winter. And by keeping Pivetta, it wouldn't really allow them the elbow room to add 2 starters to that rotation. So I'm letting Pivetta walk for sure. Maybe a team will sign him to the back end of their rotation if they have a lot of rotation depth, but the Red Sox just don't have enough rotation depth to me to keep him around. So I'm letting him go. Then you have the guys they acquired at the trade deadline who are all going to be free agents and all likely should go, especially Luis Garcia, Lucas Sims, and James Paxton. I mean, James Paxton announced that he's going to be retiring anyway, so that's one that already is an easy decision. But Garcia allowed runs in pretty much every game he pitched for the Red Sox, while Sims contributed to a couple of really bad meltdowns before joining Garcia on the injured list. So those two in particular, I'm definitely not looking for the Red Sox to keep. It's definitely unfortunate that they didn't pan out in the way the Red Sox wanted them to, helping the team to make a playoff run, but they were not effective. They were hurt, so there's no point in bringing them back. Just let them walk. Kenley Jansen's an interesting one because he stayed healthy but was acquired to provide right-handed pop and instead posted a really bad 623 OPS. He was not able to figure things out at the plate, but his defense as a catcher was good, and that's one of the things that the Red Sox were drawn to. But they replaced Reese McGuire with him with the intention of him providing some right-handed pop at the plate, and that didn't happen. So This one's interesting because it's really going to depend on Kyle Teel and his growth and when he's going to be ready. Because if he's not ready to start the season, they might want to bring Kenley Jansen back for another year, even though he's not very good, and have him serve as the backup to Connor Wong until Kyle Teel is ready. But if Teel is ready when the season begins, then I'm easily not bringing Jansen back. But I could see them maybe bringing him back for one more year as the backup catcher until Kyle Teel is ready to come up. But I'm not sold at all on Kenley Jansen being here. He did not do enough at all to show that he can be effective, and there wasn't really a point in having him here. So I'm okay with parting ways with him as long as they do have another plan for backup catcher. Maybe they just bring Reese McGuire back up. Who knows? But it's going to depend on whether Kyle Teel is healthy. So there we have it. I mean, I'd love to see Kyle Teel be ready, but maybe not. So that's the free agent class for the Red Sox. Who are they parting ways with? Who are they keeping? Are they going to keep anybody? Time will tell. We just have to keep the faith like we always do. And you can check out Locked On MLB right after this with host Paul Sullivan, aka Sully, who will keep you up to date on all things going on across the league. He is great. His show is so much fun. And in the middle of the postseason, it could be great to listen to what he has to say about all of those playoff teams. So you can catch his show wherever you listen to podcasts right after this. Go Red Sox, and I will catch you on the flip side.